We have been told in Matthew chapter 15 that the Pharisees and scribes came from Jerusalem, where Jesus was, and said, "Why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands before they eat." Jesus said, "For the sake of your tradition, you make void the word of God, that is, his laws and commandments. You hypocrites! Isaiah prophesied rightly about you when he said, 'These people honor me with his lips, but their hearts are far from me.' Then Jesus called the crowd to him and said to them, 'Listen and understand. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but it is what comes out of the mouth that defiles.'" This sort of reminds me of when I was just out of college working on my first large city planning project. And I had to interview the development staff of this Florida community in order to find out how their particular rules and regulations requirements would affect our project. One of the managers that I talked to headed the county sewer and water authority, and he loved talking about his particular work, especially around the dinner table. Well, at lunch that day, he related to me, quote unquote, "Every time you go to the bathroom, it puts food on my table." This was his favorite joke. But hearing him say that during lunch sure defiled my meal. And it wasn't what I was eating, but rather what he was saying that defiled that particular moment. In any case, during the time of Jesus, the ancient Near East was not anywhere near as clean or sanitary a place as even our dirtiest sewage treatment systems today. During ancient times, rich people may have had a privy, but most of the people would simply dump their waste and often relieve themselves into a small dish that ran alongside the road. When I served during the war in Vietnam, we soldiers had outhouses to use, but the Vietnamese people would regularly just squat in the middle of the road. Not very hygienic. The Pharisees, however, were so highly concerned about clean and unclean, especially as it related to food, that they included a multitude of religious requirements to cover contact with things that defile, such as certain foods, washing of hands, and the use of individual pots and pans. And it was expected that every Jew would obey every tiny facet of these laws, no matter what. And the Pharisees didn't just stop there with foods and dirty hands that were unclean. They resisted people that might defile them as well. They resisted those in the world that didn't follow the same religious laws that they made for themselves, such as the Gentiles or aliens. They stayed far away from those who weren't as holy as they were. If they touched someone that was unclean, like someone tormented by a demon, there was a great time and ritual involved in cleansing oneself from the contact. So when the disciples told Jesus that the Pharisees took offense at what he had said, and then Peter asked Jesus to explain the parable to them, Jesus said, "Do you not see whatever goes into the mouth enters the stomach, is passed through, and goes out into the sewer? This isn't what defiles, but what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this is what defiles. For out of the heart come evil intentions, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, slander. These are what defile a person, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile." In addition, Jesus tells them there isn't so much everybody else they need to worry about, but to worry about themselves and the things that are in their hearts and minds. After all, there is quite enough evil in each one of us, and discipliness and godliness are not some sort of a spiritual cleanliness game. Of course, it's also advantageous and more sanitary to have clean hands too, whenever possible. Doctors today tell us that it's still the easiest way to spread germs. But like the Pharisees, we are also quite quick to point out the evil around us, and much more reluctant to point to the evil that was